Welcome to Concept with Justin. Start by picturing the front yard as a composition rather than a leftover patch, a stage where vertical elements, mid-height structure, and ground-level planting speak to one another. Imagine placing one or two small trees as anchors, not necessarily centered but offset to create pleasing asymmetry. Consider a pleached hornbeam or an espaliered apple trained along a low wall, a columnar evergreen near the entry path, or a multi-stem Japanese maple by a focal step. Visualize their trunks and forms, drawing your eye up and framing views of the house while offering seasonal interest, blossoms in spring, leaf color changes in autumn, and architectural silhouettes in winter. The benefit of clearly placed verticals is immediate. They provide scale and structure, help screen sidelines from the street without blocking the house, and create microclimates for understory beds that will thrive in the shadow of their canopies. Layer under and around those vertical anchors with mid-height shrubs and pleached specimens to build depth and privacy. Picture staggered planting, evergreen hollies or laurel for winter screening, flowering dogwoods or viburnums for seasonal show, and clipped base standards for formality near the entrance. See these mid-layers forming pockets of privacy that protect the front door from passers-by while sculpting pleasing sight lines toward the house. The benefit here is dual: privacy without solid fencing, and a softer transition between public sidewalk and private threshold that feels generous and intentional. At the base of these shrubs, imagine a rich tapestry of perennials, bulb sequences, and ground covers to provide seasonal color and continual texture. Visualize spring bulbs, tulips, narcissi, and alliums, tucked under shrubs to surprise the eye, summer perennials like salvias, rudbeckias, and eryngium adding long season color, and autumn asters and sedum finishing the year with late nectar for pollinators. Ground covers such as creeping thyme, ajaga, or perennial geraniums can knit planting edges into paving while reducing weeds and erosion. This tiered planting approach benefits aesthetics and ecology. It sustains interest across seasons, supports pollinators, and softens the hard edges of paths and edging with living texture. Consider how repetition of key plants and materials can unify the composition across the front garden. Imagine echoing a few chosen species and groups, perhaps a trio of pleached standards flanking the path, repeated lavender beds that punctuate the border, or a rhythm of evergreen clipped balls along the approach. Picture consistent materials for edging and hardscape, the same gravel, the same stone or brick, so beds feel like integrated rooms rather than a collection of ad hoc patches. The benefit of repetition is visual cohesion and legibility. The mind reads repeated elements as a single, intentional gesture, lending the front yard an air of gentle grandeur without fuss. As you plan plant palettes, weave scent, tactility, and seasonal variation into the beds so the front yard works on multiple senses. Imagine a fragrant line of lavender or dwarf rosemary along the front path that perfumes arriving guests, a small hedgerow of bay or boxwood that rewards touch with glossy leaves, and clusters of scented roses or Philadelphus that bloom when the evening is warm. Picture textured contrasts: the glaucous sheen of artemisia against the fine blades of ornamental grasses, the glossy camellia leaves juxtaposed with feathery ferns that invite hands and eyes alike. The benefit is experiential. A yard that smells, feels, and changes over time is more memorable and hospitable than one that is only visually neat. Shift your focus to how beds and trees will frame the architecture. Envision low planting that reveals the house's foundation and windows, mid-height shrubs that draw the eye to the doorway, and taller specimens that balance the roofline without obscuring architectural features. If your home has a prominent porch, imagine a pair of symmetrical planting beds softened by informal drifts of perennials. If your facade is asymmetrical, consider a complementary planting asymmetry that balances sightlines from the street. Use sightline principles, position focal plants where they'll be seen from primary vantage points: the street, the driveway, and the main window. The benefit is enhanced curb appeal. Well-placed planting makes the house look cared for, intentional, and inviting. Think about the relationship between hardscape and planted beds. Picture a welcoming path that meanders gently rather than a stark straight line, edged in the same stone that forms a low retaining wall for raised beds. Imagine stair treads softened by low box hedging, and a gravel forecourt dotted with clipped shrubs and specimen pots. Visualize planting that reads well from the car, bold clumps of foliage rather than a myriad of tiny species, and use scale to good effect. Bigger leaf shapes and bold colors nearer to the street, more delicate textures closer to the house. The benefit is functional beauty. Thoughtful hardscape anchors planting decisions and makes circulation clear, while planted beds animate edges and frame movement. Sustainability and low-maintenance care are essential considerations for front yard beds that should look good with realistic effort. Begin by choosing plants suited to your local climate, soil, and sun exposure. If your site is hot and dry, favor Mediterranean and drought-tolerant species like lavender, rosemary, and ornamental grasses. If the spot is cool and moist, choose hydrangeas, ferns, and shade-loving hellebores. Group plants by water needs so irrigation can be zoned logically. Use a drip irrigation system under mulch to keep moisture near roots while reducing evaporation. Add organic matter at planting in top-dress beds annually with compost to build soil structure and reduce the need for chemical fertilizers. The benefit is resilience. Appropriate plant choices, smart irrigation, and soil health mean attractive beds that demand less intervention and respond better to seasonal stress. Now picture 5 focused design moves you can use to bring the tree and bed concept to life. First, create a framed entry with twin specimen plantings. Imagine 2 pleached trees or columnar flowering pairs flanking the main path. They lift the eye and create an elegant arrival. The benefit is a clear, ceremonial approach that feels composed and welcoming. Second, plant a layered border along the front boundary. Tall evergreen screening at the back, mid-height bloomers for summer interest, and low evergreen ground cover in front. Picture this as a living tapestry that changes with seasons and provides privacy without an oppressive fence. The benefit is year-round structure and screening. Third, install a seasonal bulb strategy under deciduous shrubs so each spring the beds surprise with color before shrubs leaf out. The benefit is an early season moment of delight. Fourth, carve a pollinator strip near a sunny border with nectar-rich natives and perennials so the front garden becomes a small habitat. The benefit is supporting biodiversity while adding continuous color. Fifth, use containers and specimen pots to punctuate corners and entry thresholds. A pair of glazed pots with clipped bay or dwarf citrus will frame a doorway and add seasonal flexibility. The benefit is immediacy. Pots can be placed, changed, or repotted as needs and seasons shift. Imagine the sensory choreography as you arrive. The approach lined with repeated lavender drifts releasing fragrance when the air is warm, a small columnar tree framing the front porch, and a ground cover of virid sedum softening the edge of a paved path. A low bubbling fountain near the entry may lend a quiet soundscape, while a bench tucked into planting invites a brief pause. The benefit is hospitality. Thoughtfully layered beds create moments, a scent, a sound, a shaded pause, that collectively shape the experience of arrival. Pay attention to plant selection specifics for different purposes. For foundational evergreen structure, consider boxwood, ilex, holly, yew, or dwarf conifers. These hold form and provide winter interest. For seasonal bloom, choose viburnums, pyrrhus, camellias, or hydrangeas according to your climate. For fragrant edging, lavender, Santolena, dwarf rosemary, and thyme are excellent. For pollinator-friendly aisles, plant Nepeta, Salvia, Echinacea, and Gura. For ornamental foliage contrast, include plants like hosta, shady sites, heuchera, artemisia, and Virginia. Picture mixing forms, vertical, mounded, trailing, to achieve a living collage that changes with light and season. The benefit is design depth. A deliberate mix of functionally chosen plants produces ongoing interest and ecological value. Lighting is a powerful tool to extend the front yard experience beyond daylight. Visualize soft uplighting for specimen trees to accent trunk form and canopy at night, path lights to mark the approach safely and attractively, and subtle embed accent lights to highlight seasonal flowers. Consider warm LED tones to create a welcoming, domestic glow rather than stark white light. Use timers or photocell sensors to automate evening illumination and pair low-voltage wiring with discrete fixtures that don't dominate the planting design. The benefit is extended enjoyment and safety. Lighting makes your garden legible and usable after dark, while enhancing evening curb appeal. Seasonal maintenance and chore rhythms keep tree and bed landscapes healthy and attractive over years. Envision spring as a time for pruning structural shrubs, refreshing mulch, and planting bulbs, summer for watering deeply but infrequently, deadheading spent blooms, and monitoring irrigation, autumn for dividing late perennials, cutting back spent stems, and adding compost, and winter for structural pruning, checking stakes and ties, and planning changes. Keep a simple planting and maintenance calendar with key dates for fertilizing, mulching, and dividing. The benefit is predictability. An annual rhythm of small tasks prevents large problems and preserves the investment of time and materials. Integrate hardscape details to complement plantings. Picture a low stone wall that doubles as seating and a retaining edge for a raised bed, or a set of wide, shallow steps softened by low lavender and thyme along the risers. Consider a patterned path, a herringbone brick, or a simple bluestone run, whose material echoes accents on the house. Use consistent edging material to give beds clean lines, and choose permeable paving where possible to manage runoff and recharge groundwater. The benefit is cohesion and practicality. Well-chosen hardscaping frames plantings, simplifies maintenance, and contributes to water-wise design. Think about scale and sightlines. Plant larger, sculptural elements at key focal points and reserve delicate textures for closer inspection. From the street, bold shapes, an architectural shrub, a pleached line, or a mass of ornamental grasses, read well and provide sibling rhythm. Up close, finer textured plants and seasonal blooms reward visitors and household members with detail. Use vertical elements to screen less pretty views, bins, meters, or service drives, while leaving the best views open to the house. The benefit is staged experience, design that modulates between bold, legible massing and intimate, detailed layers makes the front garden rich and approachable. Address microclimate realities from the outset. Note areas that are windswept, heavily sunlit, shaded, or subject to reflective heat from nearby paving or glass. Choose plants accordingly, and consider using mulch, windbreaks, or shade-providing trees to modify extremes. If you have a north-facing bed, select shade-tolerant plants and avoid species that require intense sun. For a south-facing bed, prioritize sun-lovers and drought-tolerant plants. The benefit is plant longevity and reduced maintenance. Matching plants to site conditions avoids repeated replacement and failure. Make the front garden perform ecologically by incorporating soil improvement, water conservation, and wildlife-friendly strategies. Add compost during bed preparation to boost fertility and water-holding capacity. Use mulch to minimize evaporation and suppress weeds. And install a rain garden or bioswale if water pooling is an issue, using water-tolerant plants to filter runoff. Consider a small rain barrel to capture roof runoff for supplemental watering. Avoid unnecessary pesticides and promote biological controls and habitat features like log piles or stone refuges. The benefit is resilience and contribution. A garden that manages its water, supports wildlife, and builds soil becomes a local asset rather than an ecological drain. For smaller or urban front yards, adapt the tree and bed concept with container plantings, vertical elements, and compact cultivars. Imagine a sequence of large glazed pots with small multi-stem trees or clipped standards lining the approach, interspersed with low, fragrant boxes. Use wall-mounted planters or living panels to add green without occupying ground space. Select dwarf or columnar tree forms, e.g., Malus evereste, Prunus amanagawa, or columnar oaks, to achieve tree presence in tight footprints. The benefit is accessibility. Even modest spaces can have layered, tree-focused planting when designed for scale. Consider how seasonal color and palette choices shape perception. A restrained palette of 2 or 3 dominant colors with contrasting foliage tones often reads better from the curb than a jumbled mix. For example, a cool-tone palette of silvery artemisia, blue sages, and soft lilacs with splashes of white can feel calm and elegant. A warmer palette of golden grasses, burgundy heucheras, and orange rudbeckias can feel bold and autumnal. Use foliage contrast, chartreuse leaves next to dark evergreens, to add vibrancy even when flowers are scarce. The benefit is clarity. A considered palette reads as deliberate and increases perceived cohesion. Add focal points and moments of human scale to invite interaction. A bench beneath a small flowering tree offers a pause near the front door. A bird bath on a plinth creates a wildlife moment. A sculptural pot with seasonal planting captures attention at the driveway edge. Consider opportunities for edible interest. A small espaliered fruit tree or a herb bed near the path adds sensory pleasure and practical reward. The benefit is livability. A garden that invites sitting, touching, and harvesting becomes part of everyday life rather than merely a visual showpiece. Think about budget phasing. You don't need to build everything at once. Start with structure, tree placement, major shrubs, and primary paths. Then add mid-layer shrubbery and perennials in subsequent seasons, finishing with bulbs and ground covers. Use containers for immediate impact while beds settle. The benefit is manageability. Phased work spreads costs and lets you observe the evolving microclimate before committing to large-scale planting decisions. Celebrate small gestures that create charm. A handmade house number nestled in planting, a seasonally planted wreath on the door, a low trellis with a scented climber by the entry, or stepping stones with inset plant pockets. These human touches personalize the landscape and make it feel intentional. The benefit is warmth. Personal details convert well-designed beds into a homey welcome.